Hello, I'm Mark Martinez, and this is Student-Led World History. Today, we're going to be getting into trade and commerce from 1200 to 1450. First, we're going to go to the Mediterranean. As the Byzantine Empire's ability to control trade diminished, new states began to control the trade in that region. The most important of these was Venice. Originally a city off the coast of Italy, the Serene Republic began to control territory throughout the region and developed a sizable empire. Venice secured wealth and prominence through their willingness to trade with Muslims from Egypt and Anatolia. This meant that Venice had access to luxury goods that the rest of the Christian world couldn't reach, and they taxed them like crazy. Throughout Italy, many merchant republics developed. This made Italy a very wealthy region, but also a diverse one that was nearly impossible to unify. Eventually, however, this monopoly began to fade, as new European trade routes developed. Jumping east, let's talk about everybody's favorite road. No, not that one. The Silk Road wasn't a road. It was a series of overland trade routes which spanned Central Asia and extended from Eastern Europe to the east coast of China. By the time of the Song dynasty, these trade routes established earlier in the Han dynasty had fallen into disrepair. Under Mongol rule, the Silk Road experienced a renewal. Trade was safer, more productive, and physical goods weren't the only things exchanged. Trade was a powerful conduit of religion and culture, and it makes sense since a Buddhist could have an easier transaction with another Buddhist than a Confucian. Another intangible resource that spread along the Silk Road was the Black Death, a plague which killed an estimated 60% of Europe's population and devastated elsewhere as well. This devastation to Europe's population led to a decrease in overall labor. As a result, wages raised and contributed to the collapse of feudalism across most of Europe. Except for, of course, the extremely holy, extremely Roman, and extremely empire. But transcontinental trade wasn't only going on in the Silk Road. Entered the Indian Ocean maritime system. The Indian Ocean maritime system was pretty impressive. It extended from China in the east, all the way to the Pacific coast of Africa in the west. There were many players in this market, but most notable are the Swahili coast city-states, Arab and Indian merchant states, and China. States were able to become almost sufficient entirely on trade. States like Chola, Srivijaya, and Angkor. During this time, the Chinese junk or treasure ship was the largest ship on the Indian Ocean. It allowed the Chinese to trade for massive amounts of raw goods, like wood, and of course giraffes. But the most popular boat of this time was definitely the dhow, an Arab and Indian originated vessel which made use of the lateen sail. On the western side of the Indian Ocean was the Swahili coast, which quickly became a hotspot for trade. These cities spread goods across Africa and received raw goods from intercontinental African trade. Islam heavily penetrated this area, which is why Swahili is written in Arabic script. But these goods probably weren't the most important thing exchanged. Number one was friendship, and number two was Islam, and other religions. Islam and trade went hand in hand. Heck, the Prophet Muhammad was a merchant, and wealthy Islamic civilizations led to a higher demand for exotic goods, and helped peacefully facilitate the spread of Islam. But heck, Africa was going to miss out on that sweet overland trade. It's time to talk about the trans-Saharan trade routes. And the African empire at the forefront of this trade was Mali. Mali became rich by trading vast deposits of salt for gold from trade routes across Africa. This wealth was put on full display with the Hajj of Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa traveled from Mali to Mecca, and on the way destabilized the Egyptian economy with the influx of gold he brought. Sub-Saharan Africa had vast deposits of salt, which could be incredibly valuable since you need salt to survive. These trade routes brought people into contact with Islam, and many scholars were invited into the courts of East Africa to advise rulers. Many powerful cities emerged from these trade routes, for example Timbuktu, a center of trade and learning in West Africa, and also Great Zimbabwe, a country based around a walled city with a lot of gold. Eventually Mali began to collapse, and Songhai took power in the region. But soon, many new European trade routes involved trade directly with Africa. This diminished the importance of sub-Saharan trade and had lasting consequences on the region. Also, camels are really important to make all this stuff happen, but I forgot to write that into the script. But that's everything you need to know about trade and commerce from 1200 to 1450. And if you watch our last video on this time period, you're set! Next episode, we're going to go over the emergence of new political powers in the early modern period. But until then, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.